Hi everyone, welcome back. I'm Hillary, and today's video is about my experiences using the Paris RER and Metro trains on my last trip to Disneyland Paris. Before we get too far into this, I want to let you know that my experiences were as a tourist visiting Paris who does not speak any French at all. It could be that if you live in France, use a wheelchair, and speak French fluently, then your experiences with the trains would be completely different to mine. So basically, the system for boarding and exiting the trains involves going to an info desk or otherwise finding someone who works at the train station to unlock a ramp and bring it to the train car so that you can get on and off the train. At some of the stations, the only barrier is a distance gap between the train and the platform that are otherwise level with each other. But I still recommend asking for assistance unless you know for sure that you can exit the train at your destination. Here's an example for you. On our last trip to Disneyland Paris, my wife and I stayed at Val d'Europe, just one stop on the RER away from Disneyland. The platform and the train were level at the Val d'Europe stop, but there was a sizable height difference between the platform and the train at the Disneyland station, so I definitely needed the ramp to exit the train once we got there, even though I could easily do a wheelie to get on the train at Val d'Europe. The trains are set up with two levels, upper and lower, and stairs lead up and down from the door area. This was not the best for me or my wife during our long trip back to Gare de l'Est, as I was constantly in people's way while they were boarding or exiting the train and going up or down the stairs to find a seat. And there was nowhere for my wife, who is also my carer, to sit with me except to sit on the stairs and block people's path. When we were going between Val d'Europe and Disney, it was fairly easy to get assistance with the ramp. But trying to make the journey from Val d'Europe back to Gare de l'Est to get our TGV back to Munich was another story. At the bigger train stations that served multiple train lines, we had a terrible time trying to find help. When we got to the RER station that is closest to Gare de l'Est, the first service desk we found was closed, and it wasn't clear where we were supposed to go from there, and with no one around to ask, we went off in search of assistance. We found an info point, but we waited for more than 5 minutes for someone to answer the phone on the other end, and no one ever did. Although, we found out earlier in our trip it might not have mattered if anyone had answered, because unless you speak French when they answer the call, they will just hang up on you anyway and not help you. Once we did find an open service desk with someone who could help us, they showed us where to go, helped with the elevators, got out the ramp, called the station where we were exiting the train so they could have the ramp ready on the other end, and took us directly to our train. That's how the accessibility system is supposed to work. When we had to change trains, someone was waiting for us with the ramp, but then they just sent us on our way, and we ended up getting lost trying to find the right elevator to get to the other train. Since the workers are supposed to help you get from A to B, I'd suggest sticking by their side to make sure they help you and don't get lost like we did. We found this system really frustrating and time-consuming, and it was a challenge to always find someone to help you. I want to mention a piece of information about the turnstiles where you scan your ticket. There are these long rows of turnstiles, and at one end there is a gate with the universal accessibility symbol and a stroller symbol on it. And you're supposed to be able to validate your ticket here, as all the other commuters would validate their ticket as they walk through the turnstile. But most of the ones we encountered were out of order. So we had to have Christine walk through the regular turnstile twice to validate our tickets before we could board the train. I'm not sure how wheelchair users who travel alone are supposed to handle this. We also discovered during our trip that the information on the RER Metro website was not accurate when it came to which stations were and were not wheelchair accessible. For example, some stations where you can get on and off the train did not have an elevator, so you can't actually access the platform as a wheelchair user. and this is why we could not use the RER at Gare de l'Est station. So, if you are visiting Paris, don't trust that the information on the website is correct. You'll have to be flexible and plan time to find humans to help you. Because of the inaccessibility of the RER platform at Gare de l'Est, we ended up taking a bus, but we didn't film it because it was hectic and we were very stressed. The buses were very easy for both us and the driver because they have an automatic ramp. But the people on the bus were pretty rude and wouldn't move for me to be able to get to the wheelchair spot so that I could park my wheelchair with my wheels against the wall for added support. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you've visited Paris and ridden the Metro or the RER, comment down below and tell me about your experiences. Or, if you live in Paris and you have tips for how we can better use public transportation to get around your city, please let me know in the comments down below. Also, tell me if you find this kind of video helpful, and I'll create more of them as I travel in Europe to let you know how to get around various cities in a wheelchair. If you want to see more videos about traveling with a disability, and especially if you want to see more videos about visiting Disneyland Paris with a disability, subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching!